Hi, everyone. I am Sabrina, the president of the Five Spheres of Fit. And of course, I'm here with Noel, the founder of the Five Spheres of Fit. The Five Spheres is a lifestyle strategy that constantly evolves with you. Of course, the five spheres are the physical, the mental, the financial, the social, and the educational spheres. Noel, a lot of people now are hearing us talk about the five spheres of fit, but what some people are wondering and asking me is how to utilize the strategy. So take us back to the beginning, when you created this and how you envision people using the five spheres.
So yeah, Sabrina, I'm really happy that we're doing this particular topic on our podcast because we've been getting some feedback, obviously from potential investors and people who are interested in utilizing the five spheres as a process, whether it's in their company or at schools or whatever the case may be. And I want to bring us back to the concept of everything being in the details of what you're doing and that you need to pay attention. We talk a lot about interplay between the five spheres. It's that influence, Sabrina, that is really at the heart of what we stand for.
Right.
And that's creating a balance because you understand those influences.
And you're talking about a balance amongst all the spheres.
Correct. And because of that, your ability to then organize your concerns, your thoughts, your problems, your issues around those five spheres, it's going to allow you to evaluate in a much more ideal manner so that ultimately, which is the ultimate goal, is to find a solution
Right.
to whatever you're trying to achieve. Just if we take this simple, because I know a lot of people talk about this simple topic of, oh, I want to lose weight.
Right.
Right. So if we simplify that down and we apply the five spheres of fit strategy, really what we're talking about is, okay, the issue is you want to lose weight. So what are the possible solutions, right? Well, you should join a gym. Well, how is that going to impact you? It's less time with your family, perhaps. Maybe
social sphere.
Social sphere. Maybe you go as a family. Maybe the financial concern of not being able to afford a gym, but then also the medical costs of not getting yourself into the kind of shape that stops you from having to go and see a physician on as needed basis, but even more than that, because you're not well. So we've got to really marry this concept of how do these spheres how do they influence the others? And once we figure that out, then we can come up with the most ideal solution. So we need to teach not only adults, but also kids how to utilize that. And that process is really important. So, we have a journal. You've got the kids book. So we've got some tools obviously available for kids to really put this stuff into play. And then obviously for the adults, it's just learning, seeing our content and understanding what the five spheres is and then how to create that balance.
So let me ask you, how do you personally, I know how I do it and I'll share after, but how do you personally think about your five spheres? How are you evaluating them? Are you writing, this is how I feel physically, mentally, socially, etc.? Or do you think about them and how often?
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's first and foremost in my mind when I'm thinking about stuff that I'm going through.
It's become intrinsic.
Absolutely. So put it this way, like the last week or so, I've not been feeling well. And I am aware, probably more so than the average person, about what wellness and fitness should feel like for me, right?
And you haven't been feeling well with congestion.
Yeah, congestion, energy level. And I know something's up. And so I'm constantly thinking about, well, what kinds of changes can I make in my physical sphere to account for the fact that now I'm kind of feeling down in my mental sphere. I'm not working as much and as effectively. So I know that, financially I need to obviously address that as well. But then, I haven't been as open with friends or making contacts. So I can see immediately this influence that my feeling physically of not being well is impacting everything else.
So do you just think about it or do you write it?
I journal.
Okay,
I journal.
And how often?
I literally have a physical journal, like my five spheres journal. And I fill up pages with just thoughts about my days. And then I then channel those into the spheres. So I figure out, like, if I'm thinking about, oh, I want to buy another rental property. So I have it in the financial sphere, but then I think about, well, what impact is that going to have on anything else? Do I have the energy to go and make this happen? Am I ready for the taking on that new financial aspect mentally? Am I ready for that? So, I'm constantly thinking about this. I'm journaling. I'm talking to myself in my head, as so funny as that sounds. But those are important things to do. You've got to constantly do. You have to make this a routine, just like you make anything else a routine.
So
when
we were speaking to kids at the elementary schools, fifth graders, I told them that, my downtime is at night, when I'm falling asleep. And that's when I personally think about my five spheres, and I think about them. I know I've repeated this, I've said this before, but I think of them as little light bulbs in my head, the red one for physical, the blue one for mental. And, usually my imbalanced sphere is the mental sphere. And I have to think about which other sphere is causing the mental sphere to act up, right? And then that helps me find the solution. And now we've taught that to our child. It hasn't become second nature for her yet. She just turned 11, but
she's using the term.
But she's starting to use a terminology. And then sometimes, when I'm like, hey, let's go through your five spheres, she knows exactly, like, Mom, physically, I'm feeling like this. Mentally. So mentally, I'll give you an example, because, we've had parents ask us about their teens and tweens. Our 11-year-old is starting to become really emotional. She has the roller coaster of emotions, and we'll go through her spheres. And, sometimes I wonder, is it the social sphere? Is it, friends, the different dynamics now between relationships affecting her mental sphere? I thought maybe it was that at the end of the school year, but it wasn't. And then we came, after doing some research, I thought, what, this could be hormones. The beginning of puberty for her.
So it's physical change.
It's physical, but it's exactly what you're saying. It's the interplay.
Yeah. It's so crucial. I also think that if parents out there, if you're looking for a tool in which to engage your child in conversation, because let's be honest, you're going to get to a point, if you've not gotten there already, where your child is beelining to their room or to some other space other than being next to you and open and ready to have a conversation about what's going on in their life. And I think in order to be an effective parent in that situation, you've got to have a process. How are you going to open up a conversation with your child who's going through hormonal changes? If, maybe you're the dad and it's a daughter and you don't know what it's like to go through that. What's a process that you can put in place? It's the five spheres. Let's start there. These are not aggressive tactics to open up conversation. In fact, if anything, I think they're very broad in nature and very inviting to open up a conversation.
I agree with you. Instead of, why are you so upset? Why did you go right to your room? What is bothering you? Well, maybe they don't know what's bothering them.
Track down the issue first.
Yes.
Instead of being,
helps you organize.
It's like when men talk to women, like we want to provide the solution so immediately, instead of listening to the story behind it, to really fully understand the nature of what is actually happening. Because you could be problem solving, especially if it's your kids, you could be problem solving for something that isn't actually the problem.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're then creating something there that maybe creates a more stressful situation for the kid. So when we think about, well, how does the five spheres fit into this? How do you utilize it? What's its practicality? The reality is you're opening conversations and then you're organizing everything that comes out into these five spheres. And then that allows you to then evaluate what's actually happening and then find a solution. People today, Sabrina, will spend, I don't know how many millions of dollars buying books from famous people who've become successful, all for the end goal being I want to know what their process is. How did they get to where they are? How did they do that? You have to have some sort of process. Every successful person that we've ever met, talked to, whether it's on your podcast, here, this podcast, in our lives, generally speaking, has always had a process in which to be an effective human being.
Right.
In whatever capacity, whether it's making money, being a pro athlete, a teacher, a family member, whatever their role is that they're successful in, they have a process. And this five spheres is an absolute phenomenal process in which to organize, evaluate, and come up with solutions or problem solve.
So I 100% agree with you. Um, so someone recently, you mentioned there's a venture capitalist that
Mhm.
we were discussing some things with, giving us some tips and
Mhm.
advice. And he said that, you know, how are people going to change 5 things in their life when they can't even focus on one or two? And another example is the weight thing. So many people just want the easy fix and
The magic pill.
the magic pill. So how are they going to focus on 5 things? But that I feel like we're looking at it wrong.
Correct. Correct.
Explain that to me.
I think that what he lacked was uh, the understanding of the implementation of 5 spheres. So I think when we were having this discussion and very honestly sharing what we were doing, he was assuming that we were trying to help people in all their 5 spheres. And that was our overriding goal. And what we're trying to say is, no, we're saying that when people have issues in their life, and there could be issues in all 5 of their spheres, that the 5 spheres is a great process in which to utilize to fix that one issue. Like we just used the example of losing weight. I think it is true that most people, generally speaking, have a difficult time tackling any problems in their life, let alone multiple
Of
problems.
course. Yeah.
The 5 spheres is a perfect adaptation for uh, allowing the individual to organize all of this stuff, because it comes at you so fast and it's so constant, and it's cyclical.
Yeah.
You solve one problem, then another problem comes up. So wouldn't it be nice to have a process where you can organize, then evaluate effectively, holistically,
and see what is causing that one problem? Because it may be something in a totally different sphere.
Kids today, we've gone through, I don't know how many classes that we've talked to. Virtually none of the children have a process in place that they can readily go to help them figure out what's going on. It's like, oh, I just lost my mom and my dad. Oh, I think we had one kid who did like a pros and cons list. And that was like the closest thing.
Yes.
We've talked to people in upper management at corporations, and they have shared similar sentiments about not really having an identifiable process like a 5 spheres in which to problem solve. And we were like, I can't believe this is going to be amazing, because I can't believe that they don't have that.
Right.
But here is this opportunity. And I think the reception for 5 spheres is one that people find, it's almost like mind boggling. It's like we don't use a process.
Yeah.
I think that's
it's funny because we showed a slide to these kids of, Messi, Taylor Swift, Oprah, Mark Zuckerberg,
Elon Musk.
And one thing that they all had in common that I was trying to get out of them is that they have a process. These are all
they're so
successful
organized.
people that we all know of. They're organized. They know, they have an approach when a challenge arises. Correct.
If I think about, if we go back 12 years to when I started penning this idea, it was brought upon because I was having lots of challenges. And I recognized that, I wouldn't say I'm OCD, but I'm certainly someone who likes to be organized or attempts to be organized. And I recognized that for the most part, I was not able to take these issues, Sabrina, and put them in such a way that didn't overwhelm me.
Right.
And that was the foundings of the 5 spheres, was recognizing like, man, I don't know what's happening, but I know this isn't good. At the bare minimum, I knew this wasn't good. I made the decision, and then I just started journaling. And what I journaled happened to be a business plan for how to self-help. And I try not to railroad us into any one little segment just yet. I know every venture capitalist wants us to do that, but whether we're self-help, educational, life coaching, process building, mentoring, whatever the case may be, understand that the 5 spheres is a process in which to organize your life, to help you organize your life so that you subjectively can evaluate all of the things that are happening and come up with the best solution that makes sense for you. Because what I do, Sabrina, as you know, may not be effective for you, and
exactly,
vice versa, and whomever else we might meet. You've got to have something subjective, because that's the way you'll follow through, right?
Right.
Like I can't follow the, billionaire real estate developer's plan, because I don't have that kind of capital or access to capital And I can't follow, these social influencers who are fitness gurus, on Instagram or wherever. I can't follow that. Most of the time, half my age, this is their main thing. So I've got to find something that fits me.
Exactly.
The 5 spheres of fit is that process to allow you to be subjective and find something that fits you.
I'd like to leave with this thought is the 5 spheres of fit is something that you could do at any time. During any time of the day, and you can talk it out. I was thinking of, you talking about your teenagers going to their room because they don't want to talk. But when they come out and, we're cooking dinner and, we're getting the evening, trying to settle down, you could be doing that and talking about it. Hey, how was your physical sphere today? Or, how's it been feeling this week?
Yep.
It's good.
It's a conversation starter, just as we talked about earlier. And I think that to me is not the most, but one of the more powerful aspects of the 5 spheres is it opens up conversations that you might not be ready to have because you don't know how to open the conversation. So if you said, hey, how are you feeling? Like, how are things with your friends? That's your social sphere. And you start diving in, and all of a sudden they're all open-ended questions, very broad in nature. So you don't feel like you're pinning someone down.
Right.
And vice versa, if someone's asking you those questions, you're not feeling like you're being pinned down. And I think that's a really healthy way to have family conversations, one-on-one conversations,
conversations with yourself too.
Self-conversation.
Our nephew says anytime he's going out, because his friends ask him to go out. He's in college. He says he actually goes through his spheres.
It's
and
amazing.
He's like physical sphere. These are my goals in my physical sphere. So I don't want to stay out late. I don't want to drink, so I'll go out for about an hour. He processes this before going out. And I think that's fabulous.
The value to him is undeniable.
Right.
As it is to myself and for you as well. And other people who've adopted the approach. Because it is solving your problems in the best way possible. Now, does it mean it's everything is, you've got it all figured out? No. It's cyclical. It's constantly happening. And as your life constantly evolves, so too will your spheres. So too does this process that you'll be able to follow because it's always there to help you organize.
Right. Right. Well, thank you. I hope that this clarifies a lot for people who are listening, people who want to know more about the 5 spheres of fit. And we're always here to answer questions. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.